didn't think so. The Civil Rights Act.
Come on.
The Civil Rights Act of 1866. 1866? Have you heard of the Civil Rights Act of 1866?
How long ago was that?
I didn't say 1965. I said 1866.
Yes.
Which was only 1 year after we understood that we were free. 1866 declared all people born in the United States were U.S. citizens and have certain inalienable rights. Certain inalienable rights. You know what that means? Look it up. Including the right to make contracts, to own property, to sue in court, and to enjoy full protection of federal law. Do we experience inalienable rights? I didn't hear you.
No.
Do we experience justice in our judicial system?
No.
Is there any reason why, according to this act, that black folks and brown folks should be over 50% of our prison system?
No, ain't no reason.
Ain't no reason. So this was the Civil Rights Act of 1866. So let's talk about the 13th Amendment.
Come on.
The 13th Amendment came after the Civil War. It abolished slavery. Why do we need another amendment after the Emancipation Proclamation? So the 13th Amendment states neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. Now I want you all to listen to this piece right here. Have you ever been incarcerated?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever served time in prison?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been stopped by, and received a ticket,
Yes.
and you didn't pay your ticket, so you went to jail?
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to listen to this part because 1865 and 1866 said you were free, right? The 13th Amendment said that slavery is abolished, but it says there shall be no slavery or servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted.
Wow.
Which says that you can be enslaved if you have been convicted of a crime. I'll say that again. You can be enslaved
Wake us up.
if you have been convicted of a crime.
Wake
Come on now,
up.
break
Wake
it
up.
Now, back in 1866 and there before, I will tell you, but we're talking about hints that time. 1866, you were committing a crime if you stood on a corner. And how many of you guys remember that 7th and Broadway used to be the corner? But anyway, if you stood on the corner
Wake them up. Wake
and you
'em up.
didn't have a license, any ID, and you didn't have a job, you were committing a crime and you were arrested and sent to jail. And of course, in order for you to get out of jail, you had to do what? Okay, now y'all been in prison before, you've been to jail before, so I want to hear, you had to do what to get out of jail?
Bail out.
You had to pay a bail.
Bail out.
But if you didn't have a job and you had no money, how are you going to pay your bail?
Do your time.
It could not happen.
Nope.
So what did happen? Companies like New York Life and other companies like that came along and said, I'll bail you out. I'll pay your bail. You don't have to stay in jail. Come on with me. Well, come on with me meant that you worked in the mines. You worked in the coal mines. Working on the coal mine, coal mine, coal mine. Working in the coal mine. And you was never gonna be free.
Come on now.
Why is that? Because I bailed you out, but now I'm giving you room and board. I'm paying for your keep. I'm feeding you every day. So you got to pay to be kept. And if you're paying for room and board and food, how are you paying for your bail? So consequently, people died in the mines trying to work off the bail that the massa, after slavery had been abolished, had put him in that situation. Now I want you to know, that they still have bails
Come on.
where people cannot get out
Yes.
because they can't pay the bail.
Huh.
In southern states, they still have that situation. And if you don't own a home, if you don't have a mama or a daddy or a sister or brother, y'all know what I'm talking about, to come and bail you out,
That's right.
you're going to stay in there. So that was the 13th Amendment. But let's talk about the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. And no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges of immunities of citizens of the United States. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, or deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection. How many of you were born in Venice, California? How many of you know this area right here, Oakwood? How many of you? How many of you understand that Oakwood, not on the other side of California, not north of Lincoln Boulevard, not south of Main Street, and not north of Rose Avenue. That was the Venice that we knew.
That's right.
That was the Venice that we knew because that was the only place that black folks could live.
Ghost town.
Did y'all know that?
Come on now.
So when you talk about the freedom to purchase property, the freedom to live, you didn't have that. And I'm talking about in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Right here in Venice, California. Right here out of Culver City, there was a Ku Klux Klansman that was the grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. Read all about it in the Evening Outlook. We went and researched it, dug it up, and it's a fact. So right here, when people came from the South to search for freedom and to search for a better life, they ran into the Ku Klux Klan anyway, somehow. But we were relegated to live in this community, this 1.5 square mile area that we called Venice, California. So when the gentrifiers came and started talking about Venice, and they're talking about someplace that we don't live, we're like, where are you talking about?
Huh.
We're talking about Oakwood, where we grew up in the park. We're talking about the area where we used to play tennis back there in the corner before they took that area out. We're talking about the community where we were all neighbors, where we were all aunties and uncles and cousins. That's the community that we're talking about.
That's right. Tell us.
So we're talking about the 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment prohibits the federal government and each state from denying a citizen the right to vote. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Did you listen? Yeah. Listen up.
It was ratified on February the 3rd in 1870. Here's the 15th Amendment that said you cannot deny people the right to vote. Is that happening today?
Everywhere.
Are people
man.
being denied the right to vote?
Everywhere.
Is there suppression of the right to vote? Are they taking people off of the voting rolls so that they cannot vote?
Yeah.
Are they changing polling places so that people don't know where to go to vote?
Yeah.
Are they creating different requirements and eligibility requirements, like you have to have a driver's license before you can go and vote? Are they creating chaos and problems on the day to vote so that people have to stand in line for 5 hours in order to vote? So what happened to the 15th Amendment, where we have the right to vote? I'm telling you people, today cannot be the last day of us coming together and standing together
That's right.
and moving together.
That's right.
Today cannot be the last day that we hold hands, that we stand together, black, white, brown, yellow, doesn't matter. We have to stand together. Are you free?
No.
I said, are you free?
No.
I'm asking you, are you free?
No.
I'm going to tell you like this. Until we're all free, ain't none of us free.
Come on now. Huh. Come on now.
I want to tell you about the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The 1964 Civil Rights Act is 98 years after the Civil Rights Act of 1866. I don't know what to say. The 1964 Civil Rights Act. Y'all remember that? Some of y'all are old enough to know that you marched in 1964.
Not me.
1965, right after the Watts riot. Right here in Venice, we marched. Right here in Venice,
Tell the truth.
we raised hell.
That's right.
Right here in Venice, our protests of what was happening with black folks in Venice, no housing, no jobs, no employment opportunities, that's what got those 15 apartment buildings. Did y'all know that? So I want you to raise your hand and say thank you to the boomers from the 60s that got 15 low-income apartment buildings from marching in the street. We can't stop now. We can't stop now. We cannot stop now. I want to talk to you about the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Did I just tell you about the 15th Amendment and the right to vote?
Yeah, you did.
So why do we need another Voting Rights Act?
Huh.
Does that make sense?
Nope.
Why do we need another Voting Rights Act if the 15th Amendment said we had the right to vote?
They keep on
It
pushing.
seems to me that they keep going around in circles, forgetting what was passed before in terms of legislation, forgetting or not wanting to remember that the Emancipation Proclamation 2.5 years later, when we understood what was really happening, said that there was no more slavery.
Huh.
Are you free?
No!
Do you feel like you're free?
No!